Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sunday, July 30th recap of training camp on the All Dolphins podcast on YouTube, also on the Fans First Sports Network, wherever you get your fine podcast. Today was the first practice that was open to the fans at the Baptist Health Training Complex. Start off with a bang, Omar, didn't it?
Beautiful practice from the offense. Loved the way that they responded from Friday's butt whooping. It was a sexy practice, which is what you want to do when you have fans coming. You tell Vic Fangio, okay, put the blitz package away. Let's showcase what we can do. What I did like is I thought that the offense was having issues getting behind Vic Fangio's zone. And what today's practice showed is that there is some creativity and there are ways to do it that forces the defense to say, hey, I might need to reconsider this zone. Those back and forth chess battles and chess games are what makes a team better. And, I was having this conversation with Travis Winfield as we walked off the practice, because we were both talking about, man, what a way to respond to what you saw Friday, which was a 12-sack embarrassment. I mean, it was a who's your daddy performance. And I think Christian Wilkins might have asked them who's their daddy.
No, not Christian.
He was, I can't remember what he was saying, but it was in the who's your daddy realm. And they just didn't respond. And today they opened up a can of butt whoop on their own. And it was like, how you like that? How you like them apples? Red zone, they killed it. Big pass plays, touchdowns. It was impressive.
Okay, I'm going to play Party Poupart here for the offense. Party Poupart. Okay. Yes, the beginning of the practice was Splash City for the offense. And for those who don't know what we're referring to, the very first play of 11 on 11s, Mike White hits Jalen Waddle on a deep crosser for 45, 50 yards. And then on two.
It was 46 in the air. I looked at a fan's replay to count. Okay.
Tua's first play on 11 on 11, he hits Tyreek Hill, kind of the similar pattern, also 45, 50 yards, same neighborhood. So boom, right off the bat, as a response to Friday, also as fans are here, let's give them what they came for. If you don't think the fans wanted to see some deep passes, I think you're crazy. Then they did red zone work. And the first time they did two separate periods of red zone work. The first time, a lot of touchdowns, beautiful throw from Tua to Raheem Mostert.
Every time Tua touched the ball, it was a touchdown. What you talking about?
Hold on. Nice pass. I believe it was Skylar Thompson. No, it was Skylar Mike White, I'm not sure, to Myles Gaskin on the other side. But, and this is where I think I'm going to get the narrative from all the writers of like the offense responding and won the day. I want everybody, all the writers, the media out here, you first right here, because I have you on the podcast right now. Be honest and tell me what you noticed that really splashed from the offense in the second half, both on 11 on 11s and the red zone. So I think this notion that the defense got its ass kicked today.
No.
Sorry. No, at first it did, then they responded. And in the last session of red zone work, there was one touchdown pass, and it was from Skylar to Tyreek Hill because Justin Bethel never turned around. And then there was one, for those who want to count it, and those who attended practice, the very last play of the session where Tua completed the pass to Cedric Wilson in the end zone. What?
Sack.
12 seconds after the ball was snapped.
Sack.
Correct. Same here. So
yes.
Yeah, without question, the offense completely dominated, put on a show in the early part of it. Then it settled down, and then the defense.
Well, that was not red zone. That was goal line. I always calculate everything. If they're at the
7-yard line is not goal line. Sorry.
You thought 7? I thought 5.
I know it was set a 7-yard line because I was watching it and charting it. It was a 7-yard line.
Okay, my bad. I didn't have the angle to see what yardage it was. I thought most of those were at the 5.
No. And there was maybe one play on the running plays, maybe one where Devon Etienne gained the corner and used the speed.
Yeah, that would have been a touchdown.
Correct. Outside of that, Not the defense won that.
No, you're 1,000% correct. The end of the period, the defense responded, but it was a little too late. You can't win round 9 and 10 and 11 and still win the fight. You will agree.
I actually called it a draw, but it's going to look completely.
Are you crazy?
Dude, it's going to look completely Well, remember there was a session of 2 or 3, through 3 passes, and it was PBU, ball tipped at the line of scrimmage. There was a sack, and the same. Mike White goes in, same thing. Skylar goes in, same thing. There was a period
at the end of practice,
did nothing.
You're talking about
the second half of practice. Yes, so it's easy to go look at those first 2 bombs early on and say, well, the offense.
No. Red zone first. Let's go first red zone.
Oh, the red zone also, correct.
Let's go first red zone period. Tua touched the ball 3 times, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and another quarterback. Correct. Well, no, he had 2. I think he had the one to Alec Ingold on the swing pass. Mostert.
No, he had a. I think he had a. No, there was a pass to Tyreek. It wasn't a touchdown that got them inside like the 5. Tyreek goes and dunks it on the goalpost.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, but
okay.
It was
offense won that red zone session. This was going from our right to our left. When they did the other end of the field, the defense won that one, and clearly. And there was the same.
I don't know if you could say clearly. I would say it was a closer match. There were sacks. Saw Christian be dominant. Saw Jalen Phillips be dominant. But a chain touchdown to me, that was an eye opener. That was an eye opener. If you're that defense and you finish 4th in the league against the run, a rookie shouldn't be doing that to you. Now I look at that as that's encouraging. That to me is, but I don't know. That wasn't their first team defense. That was like second team defense.
Yeah, I can't remember. And also it was good to see A-Chain gain the edge, and basically nobody was catching him.
Yeah.
So, and you mentioned the guys who look good, like in the pass rush. Mitchell Agude again was very noticeable today.
Pads, come on tomorrow, Mitchell Agude. Keep showing up, and then we'll give you the respect and props that you properly deserve. I liked Mike White. Imagine that. Fans were there. Remember what everybody says about Mike White. He's not going to impress you in practice. He's a gamer. Okay. Fans were there. People were yelling and cheering. He showed up and didn't think he had it in him. So I stand corrected. 46 yards in the air is a good NFL throw. I entered today wondering if Mike White had an NFL arm. And I'm just being completely transparent. And don't act like you're not thinking about it. Don't act like you're not.
I was going to point out again, since I used the same analogy for another quarterback on the Dolphin roster who shall remain nameless at this time. Of course, Mike White could complete a deep pass, and just the fact that he completed that one to Jalen Waddle today does not make him, ipso facto, whatever, a great deep thrower. It was a great pass in practice. That's not going to be his forte, but he was very efficient throwing the ball, and it was good to see him make that connection with Waddle.
And him talking after practice, he revealed a lot of things.
Great media session.
Oh my God, phenomenal media session, and he probably revealed a little bit too much because he told you the difference between the Jets offense and Miami's offense, correlated it with the skill position players and the concepts that they were trying to utilize or get comfortable with. Obviously, some of that is a challenge to him and probably a challenge to his skill set. But he was basically like, I can't overthrow these wide receivers. No, so right. I just throw the ball as hard as I possibly can, as far as I possibly can, because there is no overthrowing him. And that is a great thing and mindset to kind of have with this offense. And it's true.
He also
if they have the time and they have the protection, you're not going to overthrow them.
Oh, correct. No, and he also made like a very good point, but it's also kind of something we already knew, that there are certain things that the Jets can't do offensively and with their scheme that the Dolphins can, because guess what? Jets don't have the kind of speed the Dolphins have. And spoiler alert, very few people in the NFL, very few teams in the NFL, if any, do have that kind of speed.
No question about it. I noticed that fans, I tweeted out on one particular play, I saw Waddle running with new addition Eli Apple. And yeah, Waddle was behind him, but he wasn't behind him.
Correct.
Eli Apple had step for step with him. Other people tweeted out, oh, Waddle with a, great step on. It was an incomplete pass from Skyler, I believe.
It was Tua.
Was it Tua?
It was Tua.
Okay. I'll let it
Left-handed quarterback number 1. I think that's Tua, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
And
it would have taken a perfect pass 50 yards downfield for the connection, which is kind of almost what you're asking for from your cornerback there.
Absolutely. It made me wonder and reconsider. Eli Apple has a bad rep. I don't know why, but he does.
Because he does a lot of this, motioning my hand with a yapping on social media.
Whatever, man.
Okay, right. Hold on. Let me interject.
I'm not gonna hold that against anybody.
No, but you're kind of poo-pooing my statement. Let me interject here.
Okay.
To point out that I reached out to the publisher, the Fan Nation publisher of the Bengals site, James Rapine, who was kind enough to send me a good, long, comprehensive scouting report. And basically the premise was, and I encourage you to read it, but to sum it up, that Bengals chances are would have re-signed Eli Apple if it wasn't for the fact they were kind of a little bit over his social media escapades, I should say. And another quick point on Apple before you can chime in again as you shake your head, telling like I'm crazy. The fact that he was at practice and did some team stuff today was very impressive, considering he didn't officially sign until this morning. Go ahead.
He's a cornerback.
And you look massively unimpressed. How often have you seen guys in their first practice, the day after they signed, do nothing but individual work? Come on. Don't roll your eyes like I'm talking crazy, because I'm not. It's more often than not, they'll just do position drills.
I don't disagree with you, but I will say this. He's an 8-year vet, cornerback. They do 2 things. They play press, they play zone. Go on whichever side and figure it out. They'll tell you. The defense will tell you. You're right. He probably didn't know a single play call that was out there. But somebody lined up and said, you're in press, you're in zone. We're in cover 1. We're in cover 3. And it is what it is. I think there's probably, I would say 25% of the NFL could probably run with Jalen Waddle of cornerbacks. Now, on a given, just now, if Jalen got a step on you, okay, you're in trouble, no matter who you are. If you slip, you're in trouble, no matter who you are. But for you to have the speed, the actual speed to stick with him 60 yards downfield, 20%. And if Eli's in that 20%, that's impressive. Because I can tell you right now, a lot of cornerbacks, I'm not going to name them, on the Dolphins roster are not in that 20%.
No, and here's the other thing too. But Eli Apple started 30 games the past 2 seasons for a team that went to the Super Bowl one year and then went to the AFC Championship game the next year. And as much as we want to talk about Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, a big part of that also was that their defense was pretty damn good.
Lou Anarumo,
former Dolphin DC. So Eli Apple, he's not Xavier Howard. He's not Jalen Ramsey.
But he's no slouch.
He's pretty damn good, and he's pretty solid. And at this point, is he certainly more proven in the NFL than either Noah Benogany or Cam Smith or even Kader Kohu or
everybody but Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard.
Correct.
I will say this. The signing of Eli Apple does indicate that they are fully invested in Kader Kohu being the nickel cornerback. And that's important and encouraging. And it doesn't really surprise me, because if you know who this organization is and it comes from Chris Greer, they want you locked in on doing one thing and one job, and only that one thing and one job till you master that one thing and one job. And then they say, okay, what else can they do? And Robert Hunt falls into that category. Like, me and you, we are both in the same place. Robert Hunt would be right tackle number 1 on this team if it were me and you.
Yep.
But to Chris Greer, you're right guard. You're only going to be right guard. Focus on right guard. Don't do anything else but right guard. We're not moving you to work at your right tackle. We're not experimenting. You're right guard. And I'd say from season one, his rookie season, pretty good right guard. Well, the Dolphins believe he'd be an even better right tackle. Pretty good right tackle.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins believe he'd be an even better right guard. We don't agree, but it doesn't matter because they're the experts. But
no, it's not an issue of not agreeing. From where I sit is he has more value as a good to very good right tackle than he does as a Pro Bowl right guard, which is where I think they see his ceiling. So to me, it comes down to positional value. I don't necessarily disagree that he could be, maybe he'll be a better right guard than he would be a right tackle, but to me, there's a lot more value as at right tackle than right guard.
Okay, but getting back to the Eli Apple signing, because that surprised me. That surprised me because Eli Apple does not play special teams. So
Correct.
if he isn't in the top 5, he doesn't make this team. So they went out and they signed a guy that they believe could pretty much be their starter. And that says something about Cam Smith. That says something about Noah Igbinoghene, which, it is what it is. And that says something about Trill Williams, who I watched very closely today because it's hard to miss him now that he's in a red jersey, and rightfully so, because those guys don't touch him. Red jersey means you don't touch me.
No contact. It's quarterbacks and injured players.
Yes. So, and he's not doing team drills. Clearly, he's a ways away from doing that. Maybe they start that maybe the week before the exhibition season, maybe the joint practices. We'll see. Maybe not. But it just means that, hey, we're not comfortable with where we are, and we're going to supplement. And so now Cam Smith has to respond. Noah has, the whole season's a you must respond season for Noah. But now I think they're in a better place because this was we're still going for Super Bowls move, as opposed to we're just filling a roster spot.
Correct. It's basically those, we will not sink because we did not have an answer opposite X now that Jalen Ramsey's out. That's what that move is. It's entirely possible the Dolphins, their thinking is ideally it's going to be Cam Smith emerging very quickly as a rookie, or Noah, like emerging in his 4th season in the NFL.
Resurrecting his career.
Yeah. And if neither of those 2 scenarios materializes, then we have a fallback option on our roster right now with Eli Apple. So I think that the move makes a lot of sense. I like the signing. It wouldn't surprise me. I know you see somewhere on social media it was depth only. No, it's not. I'm sorry. This is not a depth signing at all.
No, not at all.
It's a security blanket type of signing.
You mentioned you kind of pissed off your top player doing it, but it is what it is. I'm dying to know what their interaction was at practice.
Oh no, but there was one place interesting because I don't know if you saw that. You mentioned that on Twitter or X, whatever it's called now. There was one play they were lined up across from each other, but then there was motion from the offense, and then they wound up shifting the assignment, and then Hill wound up running a crossing pattern against another DB who was covering him. It wound up being an incomplete pass anyway. But I didn't see any occasion.
Yes,
it was one on.
I wonder. I'm dying to know the conversations.
Well, I spoke to Eli Manning. I was in the little group that was around him, and he said, which you kind of figured he would say, said everything was fine in the locker room, and he said basically their lockers are right across from each other, and it was.
They should have put them right next to each other.
No, that would be funny. Actually, based on what we heard, Mike White might have had more trash talking with Eli Apple.
Yes.
In his first start, he lit up the Bengals, and then he joked that he caught a 2-point conversion, and
on Eli Apple
covering him, even though he was 15 yards away on the play, and he said he's going to get a picture blown up of that play and then stick it in his locker or something. So that was part of it. Like we said, Mike White's media session was completely fantastic. You mentioned Trill Williams just for our record-keeping purposes, since we try to inform as much as educate and entertain here with back and forth. Brandon Jones also had a red jersey, also did not do anything in teams, and the one with the orange jersey as the practice player of the day Friday was Gator Kohu. Correct.
And Isaiah Wynn is back from the PUP. I did not see him do any team, but I wasn't really closely paying attention to that. So correct me if I'm wrong. They're generally going to ease those guys back in, but it's good to have him back. My vision for Isaiah Wynn is to be a left side swing player. Now, left tackle, left guard. I know everybody is a ball watcher, so I know the one-on-ones were absolutely going to be covered by everybody and their mama, including the 5,000 fans that were at practice. So I was watching one-on-ones.
And I was watching the receiver versus D, because we're a team here at All Dolphins, and you can handle the trenches, and I'll take care of the passing game.
Couple things that concern me about one-on-ones, and I will say this is a little premature because they do not have pads on. One-on-ones tomorrow with pads. Oh, it's gonna be on and popping. I am excited, and so are the players. Devon Achane, you are on. You know what I want to see. Everybody knows what I want to see. Linebackers, running backs, collision. Can you protect the quarterback? But Liam Eichenberg.
No, that's a deep sigh here for those on the audio only. That's a deep sigh from Omar.
You're at a loss for words. I had more confidence in Liam Eichenberg based on what he had done in the games healthy last year. And I wasn't worried about it. I figured he was going to grow into it. He was going to get better. As long as he was healthy, he'd be fine. Watching him today in one-on-ones, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
But who was he going against? Was part of the question.
It don't matter. Christian Wilkins, I get it. Christian Wilkins is a very effective player. He should not steamroll you backwards like you're on skates. He should not. You're an NFL player.
Not ideal.
You are an NFL star. Raekwon, I'll allow it because two have to take on Raekwon. Liam, I don't think you could block Raekwon one-on-one when Raekwon wants to practice. And I'm not calling him Jordan Phillips. I'm not saying that.
You're going to go there. You're going to go down that road again, huh?
I am not going down that road again. Raekwon is hustled. Raekwon, I would say, has been a top performer every single practice, top 10 performer every single practice, right? Yes, no?
I didn't notice him today. The first three practices he was very noticeable. I didn't notice him today.
Yes. He's not a guy I can sit out here and say he's taking off practices. But I expect Raekwon to dominate you one-on-one. He's 6'7", 6'7", really 240 pounds. Like
no. You mean 340 pounds.
340 pounds. You're not going to block him one-on-one.
No, he's a big man, and he's not flabby either. He's strong. Yes.
So, but Liam, and you got to do better. Robert Jones, impressed. Rookie Ryan Hayes, and I'm not
I'm not either.
Ryan Hayes held his own. Okay. I was like, oh, okay. I might not be pushing you inside at guard. You might be able to do this job.
Malik Reed.
I apologize. I'm still getting familiar with the players.
That's all right. And I'm kind of anal about names and numbers, and I like that. I've had this Rain Man thing going on, so I'm good with those. So I'll help you out. Just point it out. Malik
Reed. All right. He does not look impressive, but he can get to the quarterback. And I like he's got a lower body bend. I don't know how much power he plays with, but he's got a lower body bend. Tackles can't stop him without pads. They're going to have to hold him.
Well, yeah, and then the Malik Reed is when he was in Denver, he was effective, and word out of Pittsburgh last year was not a whole lot happening there. No, and
he's not going to be on the all looks team.
No, but that's all right.
That's all right.
Yeah, I did the ball watching, and then the two takeaways I had, and again, I'm going to preface this as I always do. That drill basically it's half the field one-on-one. It's designed to make the offense look good to get the
Absolutely.
passing game clicking. So understand that you see those highlights of like deep completions and all that. What to do? Having said all that, Braxton Berrios has got some moves. I mean, he is slick in the open field. That's number one. And then number two, Justin Bethel in coverage today. And there was one play also I mentioned the touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill in a red zone drill late when he never turned around and the ball basically just went right by him. Had a rough time in coverage and a drill again that's designed to make the passing game click. But Braxton Berrios, and he made plays in teams also.
He made plays in teams?
He did.
Okay. I don't one-on-ones, if it's not a defensive win, I'm not counting it. One-on-ones, wide receivers versus cornerbacks. Or I think I do count it linebackers versus running backs. But yeah, wide receivers out there running double moves.
With half the field to work with. I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, it's like
no help.
No, correct. If you have a pass breakup against Tyreek Hill in that drill, I mean, might as well get fitted for the gold jacket or something like that. Speaking of which, Zach Thomas was at practice today, did a media session before, and if you don't love Zach, if you're a Dolphin fan and you don't love Zach, something's wrong with you.
Bro, he made me cry. I'm like sitting there just like listening to him and tears are coming to my eyes. Like he made me cry. And I mean, and the moment he made me cry was somebody asked, can't remember, which I could give credit, what does this mean to all the undersized players?
Yeah.
Like, what does your career mean? And oh my God, it was so moving because it moves you because you have to know Zach. And I'll share this story. I've told people this. Zach is my favorite football player of all time, and will be.
It's a good choice.
And it's not so much the play that he made, but it's what he represented. Like, he wasn't supposed to be that good, but he was that good because he put in the work. And he gave such a amazing speech about doing all the little things.
Choices. Choices.
The choices that you make to be great. And like really was moving to my life because every day I say to myself, I want to work out. Then, I know my daughter's waking up at a certain time. I know I got to do this work. I know I got to, pack this lunch. I know I got to do this stuff. So let me just sit here and lay down and rest and chill. Well, I can wake up at 6:30 in the morning and get 35 minutes of cardio in. I have no excuse to do it. It's the choice that I make not to be great. And it convicted me. And it just, these are the choices that you make. And I know how to do it, but I choose not to do it. Zach, like that was so motivational and inspirational. On top of that, I do want to share this story. I started covering the Dolphins in 2007. I was an intern many, many years before, where, and I saw Zach in his heyday. But my first season was 2007, which was the end of Zach's career. He was out on IR. He was barely in the locker room. He had the neck injury. He was having his roughest season in the NFL. His career was potentially over. And I went up to him and talked to him in one opportunity that I saw him in the locker room one time, and it was just a one-on-one. And I didn't have any plans to do anything with it. At that point, it was, his season was over. And I was just being a compassionate, caring person. And I was like, how hard is this for you? And Zach said, you know what? My mentality and my mindset has been that I do recess every single day. Mm-hmm. When you remember those, he was like, you remember those days in elementary where, you got to go out to recess for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then you had to go back into class. And he's like, I go to recess and I never go back into class. Mm-hmm. And for that, I am thankful for. And from that point, that was the beginning of my career covering the Dolphins in 2007. And they forced me to do it. I didn't want to do it. I never wanted to leave UM. I never wanted to cover the Dolphins. Didn't know really what it meant, but Sun Sentinel at that time needed me on that line. So I accepted the challenge and I accepted the assignment, but I went into work pouting every single day because I wanted to cover UM. I made more of an impact covering those young people who were more impressionable, other than these millionaires who didn't give two craps about anything other than money. Mm-hmm. And that was a horrible team, if you'll remember, in 2007.
2007.
Oh, it won in 15 going in that locker room every day. It was a nightmare. But from that moment, Zach changed my mindset about my job.
Yeah.
And I'm just so thankful that he is in the Hall of Fame and that people will have an opportunity to listen to him for 15 minutes. Because I think if you listen to Zach Thomas for 15 minutes, 12 minutes?
Yeah.
It'll make a difference in your life. I do want to share one more story about Zach Thomas, because he gave me a shout out in the press conference, and I love Zach, and Zach loved me, and Zach has always loved my work, and I appreciate Zach for that, because he knows I keep it real and transparent. I was newly separated and on a first date at the steakhouse, the popular Prime 112, and I'm there. And I'm eating, I'm doing my thing, trying to close the deal with this young woman. And who comes up to my table and goes, Omar, I love your work. I love what you do. Man, keep doing what you do. Don't change for anybody. Like, it's great to see you. Hug me. It was Zach Thomas. So imagine that on a first date. And for the record, I closed that day.
That night. You kind of had a lot of help there, but okay, now go ahead.
I did have a lot of help that night, and it was just like, mind blowing. Yeah. But those are my Zach Thomas stories. You got a Zach Thomas story?
I don't have anything to rival that, but to me, the thing that sticks out with Zach and the way talking is he's always very humble and he's always self-deprecating, and his thing about, like, he always makes fun of his intellect and all that. Like, I'm just some dumb guy, some dumb country boy from Texas and all that. Don't kid yourself. The dude was super smart because he didn't get to the Hall of Fame because of his athletic ability. Now, mind you, he was quick, but he was smallish. He wasn't fast. He wasn't the strongest, but he was incredible work ethic and really, really, really smart. And then another self-deprecating comment of, like, he was asked about waiting for his turn to the Hall of Fame. And he's talking about, like, well, I knew they were going to, once they got JT in, that they were going to make me wait, because it's Jason Taylor and all that. And I'm sitting here like, there's really that big of a difference between Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas in terms of the impact on the Dolphin defenses of the 2000s. And to that, I say no, sorry. So I go back, covered his entire career, all the way back to 1996 when he came in as a 5th round pick. And I remember the time when it was the Dolphins released Jack Del Rio, who had been brought in basically to start in middle linebacker, and we're all like, "This guy crazy? What the hell is Jimmy Johnson doing?" Okay, I guess he knows what he's doing. And it didn't take long for us to realize, like, oh man, this dude can play. But always deferring, giving credit to his teammates. There's one name I'm surprised actually he didn't mention to them. Would imagine he's going to mention Saturday. It's Tim Bowens, because he's talked so often about how much Tim Bowens meant to his career, and any Dolphin fan, even though the guy never got necessarily major accolades, do not ever underestimate the importance of Tim Bowens in Dolphin history. For those,
he kept him clean. Yeah,
kept him clean. And when I talk about country boys, like big country strong dude, holy moly, Tim Bowens. So anyway, and then Zach goes on the field and big time rah-rah speech to the fans to get him pumped up. And if you know Zach, you know damn well that's not Zach. I mean, he was doing it. I mean, come on.
Hold on. He's given that similar pregame speech to his teammates before they go out on the field 200 times.
With that kind of animation and that kind of, I don't know, it struck me as like, it was cool. It was very cool to see, but it was like, that's not, because Zach tends to be like, kind of a little humble, modest, oh, shucks, little old me, going to try to get it done. So anyway, he kind of set the tone. So
what struck me is his kids were sitting there in the front row, and all I kept thinking about, and yeah, he's going into the Hall of Fame, Like, and he talked about how his kids are just excited to meet Tua and Tyreek and take pictures with them. And all I'm thinking about to myself is, do your kids know how great you were? Like, do your kids know, like, you inspired a whole generation of players?
No, but he made a great point. In, I don't know, 5-10 years, whatever, the kids are going to learn more about what their father did, and they're going to truly understand and appreciate, you know, the significance not only of his career, him making the Hall of Fame and all that. And right now he made the point, look at them, they're on their phone. And I was sitting in the front row to the side, and I leaned over and I looked, and sure enough, all the kids are like checking out the phones and all that. And then he mentioned, like, you know, they're more excited about going out to the field and getting autographs and meeting Tua and Tyreek Hill or whatever. And the kids are laughing like, yeah, he nailed it. And that's completely normal, but it was cool. And again, as special as it is now, and I asked Tua, like, what's been the part of the Hall of Fame process so far that's stood out to him, including like sitting for the bus to be made or getting the gold jacket in the mail. And he mentioned the gold jacket because the kids were there and he got to open it and, you know, look at it in front of them. And they're going to appreciate all those moments even more a little bit further down the line.
Oh, I mean, goodness gracious. I can't even I sat there the whole time. And before he even mentioned him, I sat there thinking like, man, those kids, those are Zach's kids, and they probably don't know how great their dad was. Like, and it just, you know, because he wasn't like Jason Taylor, where Jason Taylor had his kids in the locker room and they were always there.
Correct.
Zach had kids at a very later stage in his career.
After his career.
Was it after his career? Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, you look at his kids. There's no, I mean, his last year was 2007 or 2008. Yeah. None of his kids are 15.
So Zach's kids were always around. I mean, Jason Taylor's kids were always around, always there, where Zach's kids, they never saw their dad play. And that's just, you know, mind blowing. But, you know, he was a phenomenal player, and I'm going to be excited to see him go into the Hall of Fame.
No, same here. I mean, very well deserved. And I've said this before on social media, as great a guy as he was a player, and he was a hell of a player. So, okay, final thoughts on this practice. I know I
do have a final thought. I'm going to address the fact that my stock down today is Robbie Chosen. I've seen him catch one pass in 4 practices. I've had this guy clear cut, to me, the number 3 receiver. Obviously, that was work he was doing when Tyreek wasn't there, and Jalen Waddle was being kind of limited, and I don't know what's happened. I can't. And Elijah Higgins, woo, got a good look today.
Slow. I didn't notice him. Well, what happened with Elijah Higgins today?
He's just slow. He's slow.
Well, that's not good. The fact that if I didn't notice him today, but the fact that I've noticed that he's got a hard time catching the ball, that's not a good combination.
Yeah. If I watched him today closely because I hoped that tight ends would come alive during red zone day. I
didn't see any of them catch a ball. Not one.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I take that back. And we're going to have to wrap it up here because we're getting against it. There was one play in the red zone where Tua had a little bit of pressure. Jalen Phillips came up. I think he pump faked and then threw an outlet pass to Durham Smythe on the side. That's the one time I remember it. Anyway, that's going to about do it for now. Big day tomorrow. Practices. Sorry, Pat come on for the first time. So we'll recap it all again tomorrow. He is Omar. I am Poupart. Thanks again for watching.